how a wife left the author while he was taking care of his dying father, but when, according to the will, he became a millionaire, she returned, humbly asking for forgiveness. I am 36 years old, married for 8 years, and we have 2 children. I am also the only son of my sick father. My father has been suffering from kidney problems for many years, but in the last 2 to 3 years, his condition has worsened, and now he has to undergo dialysis twice a week. This is the process of artificially removing waste products and excess fluid from the body. Previously, he could go to this procedure himself, but over the last year, he often asked me to accompany him. Every day he becomes weaker. I set up a schedule to take my father to dialysis because I don't want to leave him alone in such a state. He needs to undergo dialysis twice a week, so I chose Saturday and Wednesday. Saturday is my day off, so it's not a problem, and on Wednesday, I agreed with my boss to leave early and then compensate for the remaining hours by working in the evening after returning from dialysis. I have been working at this company for 10 years, and my boss considers me a hard-working and loyal employee, so granting such special permission was not a problem for him. But the problem was at home with my wife, Isla, who is 34. When she found out that I would be taking my father to dialysis twice a week, she was upset. She didn't like it when I occasionally took him before, but she never expressed her displeasure directly. Now, when I took full responsibility, she couldn't hold back, saying that it makes no sense to waste my time on my father because no matter what I did, he would never be satisfied with me. For context, my father owned a trading business, was quite wealthy, and had amassed a decent fortune. He wanted me to continue his business, but I was interested in another field. I wanted to work in technology. I was passionate about programming, so after school, when my father wanted me to go on some business courses or management courses, I chose to study programming. He was not against it as long as I agreed to join his company after graduation. However, after obtaining a degree, I started working at a well-known IT company. My father was unhappy that instead of continuing his legacy, I was working for someone else. He constantly asked me to join his business, and I kept putting off making a decision. After my marriage, my father asked me one last time if I wanted to join the business, and I said no. My father was furious, and said he would donate his fortune to charity, and I would not get a penny. I still did not change my decision, because by then I was already earning well. At 29, I bought a car and my own house. I was confident that I could lead a decent life even without his fortune. So, I told him that I did not need his money and could take care of myself. From that moment, our relationship deteriorated. My mother died of a heart attack 5 years ago, which seriously affected my father. Since I left home at 17 to go to university, and then found a job and started living independently, my father's only companion was my mother, and her death was the hardest blow for him. After that, our relationship began to improve. I started visiting him often and brought my children to play with him. Eventually, he retired from business and transferred his company to a trust fund. My wife, Isla, was never close to my parents while my mother was alive. Isla avoided visiting my parents, saying that my mother-in-law was too interfering in our life, and that they did not get along. When my father announced that he would exclude me from the will, Isla began to openly criticize my parents for their cruelty and malice. I insisted that she not interfere in my relationship with my parents, but she constantly did so, claiming that such a mean step would affect our future, especially the future of our children. I assured her that our future and the future of our children were safe regardless of my father's fortune, but she did not want to listen. Now about the current situation. Isla caused a scandal when she found out that I would be accompanying my father to dialysis twice a week. At first, I tried to explain to her that my father had no one but me, but he'd lost his parents. Although he has an older brother who lives on the other end of the city and rarely visits him, my father became very lonely after my mother's death, and in such a state, I cannot abandon him, but my wife refuses to understand this. Lately, she has been making my life unbearable. Every Saturday, she comes up with some plans, either hosting guests at home, doing a major cleaning, walking with the children, or something as insignificant as going shopping. I explain to her that she can plan whatever she wants, but on Sundays, because on Saturdays I have to take my father to dialysis. However, she continues to make plans for Saturday, and then blames me for being late or missing something. I had to rush to pick up my father, then take him to the dialysis center, and after the procedure, take him back home and rush back to listen to her sarcastic remarks and whims. It's not just about Saturday. She does the same thing in the evenings on Wednesday. I promised my boss that I would compensate for the remaining work late in the evening or at night after returning from dialysis, but she always finds a plan to cause me trouble. She would leave to meet her family, her old friends, or attend some random event, leaving the children with me. At this time, I had to cook for the children, feed the youngest, and in between, complete the remaining tasks at work, and this was after a busy workday and visiting the dialysis center. Many times, my father offered to let him go to the center with a nurse, because he saw that I was always in a hurry and tense, looking at the clock. After I left him at home, I did not wait a second and immediately rushed back. Even when I picked him up, I asked him to be ready and come out to the street before my arrival. My father has a nurse and a full-time caregiver, but I still feel guilty for not spending enough time with him. The road from his house to the center takes 30 minutes. Before, I enjoyed talking to him on the way about old times and children, but with the increasing whims of Isla, all I think about is how to get home faster. Most often, I just exceed the speed on short routes and overtake other cars to reduce travel time. This is the only time I can spend with my father, so I do not want to ask him to go with the nurse. I believe that as a son, I also have my duties. In general, I am tired and can no longer tolerate this woman. So, write your opinion on this situation in the comments. What would you advise the author? Maybe he is not right, and you need to listen to your wife. How can a father deprive his children of an inheritance? And we move on to the update. The first update: every day, the situation gets worse. My wife does everything possible to make me stop taking care of my father. Her argument is that it is useless. My father has already excluded me from the will and transferred his fortune to charity. So, in her opinion, there is absolutely no point in spending energy and time on him, but I cannot understand her logic. Should we do everything only for money? What if someone's parents have no fortune? What if they are absolutely poor? Should their children abandon them just because their parents have nothing to offer? After I listened to her whims for many months, I finally told her that she would not inherit anything from her parents either. So why does she still visit them from time to time? Oh God, she became furious at this and stated that her parents did much more for her than my greedy father. They supported her in everything. They are not like my father, who rejected me because I did not join his business. She said that her father would never do that to her. So I should not compare my parents with hers. Now such arguments have become the norm in our house, almost every Wednesday and Saturday after I return from dialysis, and each time they become tougher and uglier. Previously, she argued with me alone. Now I see how she screams and yells at me in front of the children. Moreover, she spoke badly of my father in front of our children and turned them against me and my father. I heard this and intervened, which again led to another scandal between us. Arguments with Isla have become routine for me on days when she does not cause a scandal. I feel that something is missing. I have almost given up. I no longer shout back and do not argue with her, just ignoring her as if she does not exist. What else can I do? I cannot abandon my father just to please her. I do not care that he excluded me from the will. He did it because of my own decision. I refused to join his company, and he was forced to transfer his hard-earned business to a trust. He has every right to deny me an inheritance because I offended him. Sometimes it seems to me that karma is punishing me because I hurt my father. On the other hand, my father is getting weaker. He is barely able to move independently. He needs help to get out of the house and get into the car. To save time, I used to ask him to come out and wait for me on the street, and after dialysis, I dropped him off at home. But now I do not care if I am delayed. I go into the house, carefully lead him to the car, and then bring him home, making sure he is comfortably settled. He has developed shortness of breath, so I try to lead him slowly as needed. Also, when I drive, I try to avoid speeding so that his heart rate does not increase. Now I do not care that I will return home late because rushing also does not help. If I still have to deal with this evil woman, why not at least make my father happy? My more relaxed attitude has exacerbated the situation at home. Yesterday, Isla said that I need to choose between her and my father. I tried to explain that my father will not be with us forever and, given his condition, he does not have much time left, but she sharply replied that in this case, you need to decide who is more important to you, the one who will always be with you, or the one who will soon die. It was so heartless. I told her, you know what, I'd rather choose my father than a snake that spits poison at a dying man. She packed her things and left. I did not even try to stop her. She needed time to cool down, and I needed some rest from all these scandals. In her absence, I take care of the house, children, father, and work. Nevertheless, I feel so much calmer and relaxed. Her absence actually brings me peace. The day before yesterday, she sent me divorce papers. I expected this but did not think it would happen so soon. I was shocked but deep inside felt joy and relief. I did not call her, just signed the papers and sent them back. To my surprise, she did not demand custody of the children. This was the only point that really worried me, but the children were clearly not needed by her. When she received the documents, she called me, screaming, "How could you just sign them without calling me and trying to persuade me to come back?" Funny, right? Then her mother snatched the phone and shouted, "You should have acted like a man and tried to get your wife back, not just sign all the papers." It was so funny. Why should I have done that? She wanted a divorce, and I agreed. I thought to myself, okay, I got rid of her without any fuss. I also pricked her by saying that she abandoned her children and did not want to take them. She replied that I could keep all our assets, including our 2 children. She does not need them. Her mother said that Isla is very young and does not want to carry the burden of children on her shoulders. I replied that it suits me. I am glad that my children are with me. For me, it is undoubtedly a relief, but I worry about my children. They miss their mother, especially the youngest. It is difficult for me to cope with all the responsibilities alone, but I hope that I can get through this. Update 2. This will be a short update. I moved to my father's house with the children. It was a great decision, I must say. Moving to my father's house benefited all of us. My father got the company of my children, and they got a grandfather with whom they could play. My father had a full-time caregiver who agreed to look after my children for an additional fee. Why not? Someone who will take care of my children under the supervision of my father is the best solution, right? It is such a happy feeling to see my father playing and laughing with my children, and they enjoy the time with their grandfather. Isla did not expect such a turn of events when she divorced me. She wanted to make my life unbearable. She thought I would not be able to cope with all the responsibilities simultaneously, taking care of the children, my father, the house, and work, but everything worked out perfectly. I definitely won from this situation. The divorce was the best thing that could happen. Update 3. Sad news. Last week, my father died in his sleep. He went to bed happy and satisfied after playing with my children, and did not wake up again. The doctor said that he died without suffering. The doctor, his nurse, and even the caregiver said that my father was happy after I moved in with him, and it actually extended his life for several months. He was already on the brink before I moved in. Losing the only parent is very hard, but I am glad that he spent the last months of his life happily. My children also miss him, but my father instilled good values in them. They say that Grandpa taught them to accept reality and move on. Life does not stop for anyone. I am so proud when I hear such words from them. They really give me strength at this moment of despair. But there is another shocking news that came after my father's death. My father's lawyer contacted me and asked me to come to his office to read my father's will. I said that it was not necessary. My father had already told me that he had transferred all his fortune to a trust. So it suits me, and he can continue to process the documents for transferring everything. I asked him if I needed to vacate my father's house because I assumed that it was also transferred to a charitable trust. Tears welled up. My father actually bequeathed everything to me, all his business, house, and fortune. I asked the lawyer if these changes were made recently because I thought that he had done this after I started taking care of him. The lawyer smiled and said that I had always been his heir, and the will had never changed. I cried nonstop. My father never abandoned me. Perhaps he threatened to exclude me from the will so that I would continue his business. My father's lawyer tried to calm me down, but I continued to cry. I said that it was killing me inside. I had hurt my father all my life, and he always took care of me. The lawyer said that my father was very proud that I did not give up my passion under his pressure, and that I gave up wealth to follow my dream. My father was insanely proud of me. The lawyer added that I am the head of the business, and if I want, I can take the company back from the trust and manage it myself. I think I will do this. I did everything I wanted, and my father indirectly supported me. Now it's my time, and I think I will take the company back from the trust and develop it to the level my father wanted to achieve. I returned home and told my children about their grandfather's will. He left part of his fortune to them when they turned 18. Today, we went to his grave with flowers and spent some time there in silence. This is an incredibly difficult moment for me emotionally. Update for, ants return as soon as they see sugar. A month after my father's death, I started managing his business and engaging in other public activities. First of all, I quit my job and took over the business. Then I rented out my house because my children decided to live in Grandpa's house. In this house, they feel a connection with their grandfather. This house holds memories of my childhood, so I also do not want to leave it. With the news that I inherited millions from my father, I had many visitors at home. Long-forgotten relatives, friends, and neighbors, but the most unexpected visitor was my ex-wife, Isla, and her parents. They entered the house crying, claiming that they did not know about my father's death. Otherwise, they would have come to the funeral. Her parents continued to say all kinds of kind words about my father. Isla hugged the children and cried, telling them how much she missed them. I asked her if she missed them so much, why didn't she visit them for the last 8 months? She said that she came to our house, but it was locked. What nonsense! I asked. You weren't worried about your children when you saw that the house was locked? You didn't feel the need to contact me and check if everything was okay with the children? She had nothing to answer. Then her parents suggested, let's forget everything that happened in the past. Now that Grandpa is no longer here, the children should not sit at home alone while Dad is at work. They need a mother. So it's better if we reconcile. At such a proposal, I laughed in their faces. The children needed her most when she left them with me. Now the children are used to her absence, and I do not want her to return to my life. She started crying, and her parents left us alone. She took my hands and pleaded for forgiveness. She said that she loves me and misses the children. I laughed and said, "You know what? You didn't love me. You loved the fortune my father left. You and your greedy parents came to me to live off my money." I do not regret using such words towards her parents because they are exactly like that. During our divorce, she called my father greedy and cruel. And now she has returned, hoping to get a share of his hard-earned money. But I will not let this woman get a penny. She was taken aback when I insulted her parents and stated that she had been pleading with me until now because she loved me, but now she will take what rightfully belongs to her. During the divorce, she did not demand alimony, but now she wants half of my fortune. In fact, half of my father's fortune. I told her that she could do whatever she wanted, but she would not get a penny from me. She cursed me and left in anger. After that, I discussed the situation with my lawyer, and he assured me that her chances of getting anything are extremely low. The divorce was finalized a year before I received the inheritance, and since the children stayed with me, she has no opportunity to demand anything. However, he warned me to be careful about letting her spend time with the children, as she might manipulate them and later file for custody to demand money for their maintenance and other expenses. I was immensely grateful to him for this advice. I decided to closely monitor their meetings. Now I spend a lot of time with the children to help them cope with the loss, so that they do not seek emotional support from their mother. Now that I have taken over managing my father's company, it gives me great flexibility in managing my wealth and personal life. I plan to take the children on vacation to the Bahamas. Why not? They deserve this luxurious rest. It's not that my father's fortune suddenly fell on my head. I could have afforded it earlier, but I did not have time while I was combining work and taking care of my father. Now that I have time, I want to please them. As for Isla, she has not contacted me since she came the last time. I think she is busy looking for lawyers to sue me. So what do you think about all this? Who is right? Who is to blame? My opinion, the wife in this story is not an absolute antagonist, as it might seem. Judge for yourself. The father was going to completely deprive his son of the inheritance. Yes, he paid for his son's education in the program, but in return, he still wanted his son to take over his company after graduating from university. That is, the son actually fooled him with breakfasts, but the father still hoped that someday he would take over the management of the company. But what if the son had said from the start that he did not plan to do this? Then everything could have gone according to a much tougher scenario. And now put yourself in the place of this wife. Well, imagine, your husband's father just wiped his feet on him, saying that he would not get a penny. How would you react in the wife's place in this situation? But a divorce and scandals of such a scale are, of course, an overreach on the part of the wife. Yes, you don't like it. Understandable. You have the right, but do not overdo it. You have a normal life, children. You are not the owner of your husband. He is also a separate person. The same goes for the father. His behavior is also clearly an overreach. Children should feel that they are needed by their parents. Okay, you left your company to a trust, but if we look at it from the side of a sister or brother, we tend to justify them. What such behavior is logical and all that, what they have been telling us all our lives. And of course, if you choose from all these people, then the most adequate, of course, is the son. God give him health and a good life. Write your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Watch our previous video. We will have many more similar stories, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. Good luck, and see you soon.